Hello and welcome to today's webinar, How to Use the Microsoft Graph to Boost Office 365 Adoption. A couple of housekeeping items before we get started. You're welcome to submit questions at any time using the chat window on the right-hand side of your screen. We'll address them during the Q&A session at the end of today's webinar. If we don't manage to answer all of your questions, someone will follow up with you. We'll also make a recording of the webcast available to you within a couple of days. It's my pleasure to introduce you to today's speaker, Yaakov Cohen, co-founder and Chief Executive Officer of Harmony.
Thank you, Susan. And thank you all for joining today's webinar. So today we will talk about the Microsoft Graph and how we can use a Microsoft Graph to boost Office 365 adoption. So when Satya Nadella said at Ignite in 2016 last year that the graph, the Microsoft Graph, is Office 365 most profound shift, I started really thinking about what that really means for us and what that really means for you. And what I would like to do today is really figure out together with you why the graph is so important, what it is the most profound shift that Office 365 is bringing. And secondly, I would like also to understand, first and foremost, what is the graph? What's the innovation of the graph? But maybe the most important thing that I would like you to take away today is how the Microsoft Graph and its profound shift can make a change, can deliver business value to your organization, and to do that today. So that's really the goal of today's webinar. And really the idea is really to understand when Satya is saying that this is the most profound shift that Office 365 is bringing, he really means that this is even more important than the cloud itself. The cloud with the flexibility of having an hosted environment where we don't need to manage it, we don't need to install updates. So Satya is saying, no, there is actually something which is even more profound than the flexibility of the infrastructure, the flexibility of the cloud. The graph is really bringing something new. So we want to explore the graph today, to learn more about what it is, and to see how we can use it today to boost Office 365 adoption. So after we talked about Satya, I would like to talk a little bit about me. And I really have been spending most of my time in the past years to help organizations boost Office 365 and SharePoint adoption. We have been working really hard here at Harmony to see how we can leverage the graph, how we can leverage all this great flow of innovation coming from Office 365, and in order to really deliver more business value, more adoption, by really putting the human at the center of our Office 365 initiatives. And I think that's really something really key, is how can we use the graph to put the human at the center of our Office 365 and SharePoint initiatives. So when you look at the graph, I think there are really three main innovations with the graph. First, the graph, for the first time, is delivering a single API for multiple Microsoft services. And having a single API, which is really abstracting all these Microsoft Cloud services, such as SharePoint Online, such as OneDrive, such as Exchange and all the email service, such as Yammer and Groups. Having a single API for all these services is by itself a significant innovation. And it's also the foundation of delivering a more holistic experience. Now that we have one API across all Microsoft services, maybe we can deliver a digital experience which is more humanized, more holistic, which is really an experience which is going across all the Microsoft Cloud services. The other innovation with the Microsoft Graph, which is probably even more important, is the ability to build humanized application, to build applications which better understand the way my brain works and how to deliver information in a way which is a lot more natural for me. And we'll take a look at what are the type of APIs that the graph is providing which really enable to deliver this type of humanized experience. The other thing which is important for developers is really the ability to tap into both consumer and enterprise market with a single API. So when you look at what we had until now, we had really multiple cloud services, and each service has its own merit by itself, but it's a lot of services and a lot of different APIs, and you get so many services, so many apps, you end up having really a very distracting and scattered environment, moving from one app to another, toggling from apps. And until now, we are really these silos of we had Active Directory and Azure ID in order to get information about users. We had SharePoint and OneDrive to get information about files and what's called drive items. And we had to query Exchange or Yammer in order to get information about conversation and emails, email threads. And the same, we had to query Exchange to get information about events and calendar events. And people, we had to go to Yammer and SharePoint sites. So multitude number of services with overlapping functionality. You know, a lot of customers are still telling me, you know, Microsoft Groups, Microsoft Teams, but what about Yammer? So a lot of confusion that we want to try to clear up and to really deliver to our customers a way to a guidance how to deliver true business results from all this fantastic innovation coming from Office 365. So now we got this API, which is going to enable me to talk about a user, to learn more about a user, to learn more about the file that maybe this user has just updated and the conversation users are participating into. And the people and the groups and the events, all is now from a single API. And it's really good to start thinking in terms of graph, how all this information about my files, about my calendar events, about my emails, about the people I'm working with, and their own documents. How I can really use the graph APIs in order to traverse the graph and to, in a very natural way, get meaningful information which is going to enable to deliver this humanized experience, which is really putting the human at the center. So with Microsoft Graph, everything starts from me. It's all about me, you know, like when we were babies. Okay, so it's about me, and then it's about all the things about me, my department, my responsibility, my job title, but it becomes more interesting when I can start querying. And today we won't show APIs. We did that in a previous session. But you can use the Graph Explorer. It's a fantastic tool. I came back to my early days as a programmer to explore the graph using the Graph Explorer. That was an experience. And with the user, you can start, with the user endpoint, you can start making queries about what is the events attached to the user, what is her next event, assuming obviously that you have the rights to do so, and what are our messages, and who are her direct reports, and what group she's a member of. So we can really start traversing the graph, exploring a lot of information in a very personalized way, putting the human, the user at the center. And we can query SharePoint to ask about my recent documents, or to ask the file that I have just updated. And we can do that also for the direct reports, and we can have information about when they have been created, and if they have made public, and if they have been shared with me, and so on. The groups are also an important part of, to be able to query. I want to know which groups this user is member of, and what files are belongs to the group. So we are really building a graph which is made of conversations and events and people and groups and users, and we really are getting a very meaningful way to understand information about our organization, and delivering on this premise of a more humanized experience. But what I would like also to mention, the interesting part about the graph, is the fact that the graph is capable of aggregating and capturing all these signals. So every time with the cloud and with Office 365, you got this notion of big data, because every time you are sending an email, or you are having a Skype for business discussion, or you are updating a document on SharePoint, a signal is being sent to the graph. And the graph now remembers that you have updated this document and you have talked to this person. So this enables the graph to provide you information which I like to call insights. You know, some people call artificial intelligence. I never have seen, to be honest with you, intelligence which is artificial. I would rather get natural intelligence. So careful about artificial intelligence. Try to get the organic intelligence. You know, it's like eggs. I prefer the organic one. So with the graph, I can ask a query such as, tell me the recent documents of this user. So now I have an interesting insight into the recent location she has been visiting, maybe some of the most interesting topics. This is actually something a lot more meaningful than just give me a list of files that she has ever touched. So that starts with recent. But then what's interesting also is trending around. I would like to know what are the documents, the files, the drive items, which I should know about, which are trending around me, which has been being updated by people that I've been working with. And now, if you look at Dell, for example, Dell is making extensive usage of the trending around API to enable you to discover information which is trending around you. That's for sure an interesting insight. And that's really, we'll see how this can really enable you to deliver a new type of experience to the business users. And once you deliver a much more humanized experience to your business user, guess what? They're going to adopt Office 365. So if you want to boost adoption, you need to deliver on this premise of an experience which is putting the human at the center of your Office 365 initiative. So another really important API is working with. You can ask the Office Graph, I want to know who the user is working with. What are the most frequent colleagues that the user has been working with? And again, that's an interesting insight into the graph and into the behavior of this user. So we are not just talking about mechanical information, objective information. We are talking now about things like which has a meaning for the user, the people she's working with, the documents which are trending around and may be meaningful for her, and the recent documents she has been working with. So that gives you maybe an insight about what is a graph. An API which is providing services across all the Microsoft services. But even more importantly, and that's what's making the graph the most profound Office 365 shift, as Satya Nadella said, is because the graph is providing me insights on what is meaningful to my user. So the graph is really providing me a foundation to deliver a humanized experience to my organization and to boost Office 365. So that brings us to a demo. Until now, we have only kind of the theory. So let's get into the practice, okay? I'm going to roll up my sleeve, and we're going to get into a demo. So I am within Outlook here, the good old Outlook, still a rich client. This is still my preferred Outlook, to be honest with you. But there is a little bit of vitamin on top of my regular Outlook. I got the Harmony sidebar. And in the Harmony sidebar, for the one of you which have known and love Harmony for many years, and Harmony has been around now for, gosh, let's see, that's 8 years. So I got my sites, I got my people, but now I have a Collage tab. And the Collage tab is actually extensively using the Microsoft Graph. How the Collage is using the Microsoft Graph. So let's give you first some background about Collage. So Collage is analyzing, for example, this email. I was invited to be the host, believe it or not, to a webinar, how to use a Microsoft Graph. So this email has been analyzed by Collage using natural language. And Collage has found multiple topics. Topics are these meaningful proper names, this thing that I care about. Okay, it's an extension of the Microsoft Graph, basically giving you an insight into the meaningful topics the user is interested in. But for this, you need Collage. And this email is about Office 365, Microsoft Graph, Office 365 adoption, and about webinar. But now Collage is also connected to multiple cloud services. And Collage is obviously connected to Office 365. I have my SharePoint Online, I have my Outlook, I have my Yammer. But Collage is going beyond the Microsoft Graph, adding to the graph services such as Salesforce, such as Yammer, IBM Connections. We're going to soon come up with Microsoft Dynamics. So you end up having a very rich graph which includes information across all your enterprise cloud services. And now all this information is delivered to you in the way your brain works. In the way your brain works. So, which is with topic, because believe it or not, our brain doesn't work siloed by application. If you open my brain, you will see that there is not a Yammer section, a OneDrive section, a SharePoint section, and a Salesforce section. Actually, our brain is working by association. We're associating categories, and the very meaning of things that we are able to capture, to identify, to relate to, are built out of association we are making. So a topic is a lot more the way your brain thinks, which is associating things which are related with some sort of connection. In this case, the topics are Office 365, Microsoft Graph. So let's take a look at Office 365, because we want to learn about Office 365 today. So maybe we have some stuff here, and this is on our production environment. I see that we just have written probably a future blog post. This is a lady from our marketing department. Hi, Vicky. And she has updated record management consideration for Office 365. So that's pretty interesting stuff. And I see here that we have a Zendesk issue. We have actually an Office 365 issue on iOS. Okay, we won't drill down into this, but I see another thing which is of interest, We have the Swiss Re CIO testimonial about Office 365. So I want to learn more about Swiss Re. You see, for every, basically I'm getting important updates from multiple cloud services, from all these cloud services that we talked about. But how Harmony knows which one are likely to be important to me? The way Harmony knows it is because I am working with these people. I'm working with Vicky. I'm working with myself, of course, with Susan. So the people I'm working with, the updates coming from these people, we get a higher score. Also, based on where these updates are coming from, for example, a Salesforce update is getting a higher score. So we're using the Working With API in order to score the updates and to determine how meaningful they are, how important they are for the user. Again, this is really continuing on this profound shift that Satya is talking about, adding organic intelligence to your cloud. So I can also now, as our brain is working by association from one topic to another, now I got really curious to know more about Swiss Re, which is one of the, or actually the second largest reinsurance company in the world with 15,000 users. They are using SharePoint on-prem as well as starting to roll out Office 365 for collaboration. And you can see that Harmony is bringing me all the updates from Collage, from which is related to Swiss Re. So I have an email from Rainer Baumann, the CIO of Swiss Re. I have the Swiss Re account from our Salesforce system, which is being displayed here. I can see that there is a support issue from the Swiss Re company that I can drill down. Again, I'm sorry, this is our production system, so I can't drill down to everything. So I really get a lot of information, and what's interesting, I can jump from one type of information to another. So that's an example of how we are working the Working With API, how we are using the power of the graph to really deliver, to extend actually the graph and to deliver this humanized experience by delivering information across multiple cloud services the way your brain works, by topics. The other thing which is interesting is how Collage knows how to bring, from where to bring the SharePoint updates. Because there is a lot of SharePoint location, we have a lot of SharePoint sites, a lot of SharePoint document libraries. If I present to you, if we go and scan for every update, it's going to take a while to bring them, and they may not be meaningful. So we are using the recent APIs, which is giving you the recent location, and from the recent location we get the recent document libraries. So we don't need even to, as a user, to enter manually which location. That's the next stage in terms of user experience, where you are guessing what the user wants to see. It's likely that the user wants to see where something in the recent locations. You know, that remember the old days. I mean, it's old days. It's still today on most file systems. Like when you start taking, you're downloading a document from your email or something, you want to save it in your C drive. You need to go back through the entire hierarchy and see users, documents, all this, and you do that one time, and second time the software doesn't remember anything. It's a dumb software. Okay, so now that's it. We have software which is more intelligent. We have a profound shift where we are delivering a humanized experience, and that humanized experience is going to boost really the adoption. The other thing I wanted to show, now that I know the recent locations, I can see also activities which is important to me in my recent locations. I can see people which have updated document. And as you see, this is very contextual. I can right away start a discussion, a chat, a Skype for Business discussion with Kerin or with Ron. He's already online, West Coast time. Wow, he's an early bird. So I get a lot of insight right away. A little bit big brother, you would say. Okay, I accept that. Okay, and then I have also the sites. So I can see all my sites in a single location within my comfort zone, within the comfort of my email client. I get all my SharePoint sites. I get everything is connected to my Skype for Business. And I have all the metadata is being displayed. So here it's grouped by account name. I can see all my accounts. And if I want to share a link rather than an attachment, I can do that very easily. I can simply drag and drop from the collaborative space on my right to an email. And you see I have a humanized link, very nice link. I can also take an attachment, like for example here I have an attachment. Can very easily take an attachment. I can go to one of my favorite locations. I'm going to go to my training kit, and I can very quickly upload on SharePoint with a simple drag and drop. I can very easily upload the document on SharePoint. So that gives you a little bit of a feel for the type of humanized experience that we are able to deliver using the Microsoft Graph. And if we kind of summarize what we have seen, the way Harmony is humanizing Office 365 and SharePoint experience is first by bringing all apps to a single place, the email client. And the other thing, as we have seen, is to deliver information the way the human brain works, which is really critical because a lot of time we feel that technology is trying to change our brain. And I would rather have technology being changed to fit our brain rather than the other way around. That's going to be easier, maybe. So, and why this is so important, I think it's important that we all capture the magnitude of the problem, why people are not, your business users are not adopting so easily SharePoint and Office 365. You know, you have done everything you could. You have rolled out. I talk to people, I call that the post-honeymoon effect. After, you know, they were so happy and excited with Office 365. They were totally convinced it's going to be a love story. We're going to wake up early every morning. We're going to do our run together. And then you talk to these same folks 1 year later. They say, listen, you know, we launched Office 365. We rolled it out. We did the migration and we did the training. And you know what? People keep sending emails rather than attachments. I don't get it. So why this is happening? We need to take a step back to really understand what this is happening. This is happening because there are too many apps. There are too many cloud services. In fact, 935 cloud services in average for enterprise. That's huge, way too many. And then, because there are too many apps, the more apps, the less productivity. Once upon a time, the more tools you would get, the more productive you would be. But in these days, when the app economy has killed it, it has smashed our soul, it has smashed as humanity. Now we got too many apps, too many places to go. We got so confused. Your business users are so confused by one more app and one more tool and one more place to go. And all with disconnected UI and information, and trying to connect the dots become a nightmare, right? So what people end up doing, they know one thing really well. They know how to send emails. Everybody knows how to send an email. This one, you don't need training anymore. People got it. You know what? They know something else. They know how to attach a file to this email. So 76% of organizations still rely on email attachments. after all these millions of dollars invested in sophisticated cloud services, after all this investment invested in SharePoint, on-prem, Office 365, in the cloud, still people are communicating the way we used to do it in the 80s. Remember that days? You don't because you are young. I do. Okay, so that's why we need a new approach. And that's really what I wanted to share with you today. We really need a new approach which is humanized. Humanized for your business user. We need a new approach which promotes focus, concentration, rather than distraction. And that's really the core problem. The core problem is the app economy has been promoting distraction. All these apps are competing for your attention. And the scarcest resource today is the attention of your information workers. This is even scarcer than cash. You need to manage attention in a much smarter way that you have done in the past. Throwing apps at your business users is the wrong thing because you don't manage their attention. So we need an approach which respects your most valuable asset, your information workers' attention. You need an approach which respects their humanity, which respects their soul, which respects their need for quiet time, for concentration, and for focus. It's a totally new approach to technology. Welcome to this new era. So, you guys want to try it? You should try it. We have a great program. We are launching Harmony Collage. It's a new version of Harmony. It's the next thing with the topic-driven interface. We provide you a 30 days program, including premium support. And I hope you like it.
Thank you, Yaakov, for that great presentation. And as Yaakov just said, before he answers your question, we are happy to offer you a 30-day Harmony Collage Enterprise Evaluation License. If you're interested, please answer the poll question right now saying yes, and we will get in touch with you after the webinar. And while the poll is up, I'm going to read some of the questions that have come in for Yaakov to answer. Yaakov, are you ready?
Yes.
The first question is, what about accessing documents that are trending around if I don't have permission to see them?
Yeah, that's a great question. And there is a lot of concern with all this new technology which are providing you insights. How do I make sure that I actually have privileges and security rights to access this information? So no worries, the graph respects your access rights. And if you don't have access rights to a document, you won't see it in your trending around. So thank God and thank Microsoft, they are respecting the access rights, and you only will see what you have access to.
Great, thank you. When you ignore a topic using Collage, does the topic disappear for other users?
So, okay, when I can ignore, maybe that sounds like somebody which has already tried it, okay? So maybe just for everybody to kind of understand, I want to show real quick here that in Collage, it's a machine learning product, like the graph is also machine learning. So one of the things I can do, I can say, okay, ignore topic. I can right click and teach the system, teach the Collage to learn that this is not a good topic. And what will happen at that stage is this will only be ignored for me right now, but we are working now. Right now, the topics are personal. The topics are really for each user. There is a set of topics, and we are building a graph for every user. As in the future, we plan to use the affinities and to build more of an enterprise graph, which will then include affinity scoring. So for example, if one person I'm working with is ignoring a topic, that's going to really make these topics almost irrelevant for me, and his score is going to be very low, if that makes sense.
That does make sense. Thank you. Can I use Collage to follow multiple project updates?
Oh, wow, that's a really interesting use case, and actually that's one of the use cases we're working with a number of customers who have found that as being one of the most useful use case, which is, let's say you are a company with multiple brands and you're trying to foster better collaboration across different brands or across different line of business or across different departments. So one of the things we started to really work with companies is to use Collage as a way to surface information about projects across these multiple brands or line of business. So you can actually manage topics. You can create some topics which have not been recognized by Collage. You can yourself add a topic. That's part of the machine learning. Collage is very humble and ready to learn. So you can teach Collage some topics that Collage has missed. And this can be used to define a list of projects. We are coming also with provisioning capabilities, so you can provision a list of projects.
Thank you, Yaakov. How is Collage licensed?
Yeah, so Collage actually is not licensed on its own. Collage is now part of Harmony, of the Harmony suite of products, and we have the Harmony plan, which enable you to license Collage for per user per month. It's $6 per user per month.
So if you've had a question and we haven't answered it, we will get in touch with you shortly to answer it. I'd like to thank everyone again for joining us today. You'll receive an email with the link to view the webinar in a couple of days, and we look forward to meeting you again at our next webinar.